All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing World Without End by Sean Russell. This is not to be confused by World Without End by Ken Follett. Yeah, Ken Follett wrote a book with the same title. Anyway, setting that aside, let's get to this book, World Without End, Sean Russell. It's book #1 in the Moontide and Magic Rise series. Came out in 1994. You know I love graphic design and cover illustration, so let's talk about those things first. So we've got a great cover illustration by Brauld Braltz, who, he did he did the original Mists of Avalon by Marion Zimmer Bradley cover. He's done a lot of fantasy covers, but he's mostly known for his cat paintings. His paintings of cats, his cat calendars, to be specific. The dude can paint a mean cat. And I ain't just joking about that. But anyway, this is kind of a mean-looking bird here with the guy out here, and then it's got a nice wrap-around thing to the volcano and the ships and stuff. So let's talk about this book. It opens up. I liken this mostly to Neil Stephenson's Baroque cycle. You know, Quicksilver, the Confusion, the Systems of the World. I liken this book to that, but this is much, much shorter, much, much less dense. However, the writing and the prose is on par with what Neil Stephenson can do. One of the reasons I like Sean Russell, and I might get the rest of this series, is because the prose is so well done, very atmospheric, characters well done, the writing is just impeccable. It's just a really good, it's not really a fantasy adventure, it's more of like a fantasy historical fiction piece, not based on any history of our planet, but very philosophical, very scientific, and very magical at the same time. So we open up with a mysterious duel of swords in a misty meadow between Baron Ipsword and Count Ellsworth. Not much is explained about why, what's going on, why, but it's kind of a cool scene. But then we jump to the second chapter, which introduces us to our main character, Tristram Flattery, who is 23 years old. We find out that he was orphaned at 8, and he's kind of on a bit of a journey. He's been summoned to the royal court of Farland, and we will get into why in a minute. But to set up the scene, overall the world building is thus. The age of mages is long over. Their secrets long lost to the world. And some even say that the mages erased all trace of their craft from the history books. So it's like some people believed in magic. Maybe, we're not really sure, because the mages, did they exist or not exist? Really don't know, because they erased all trace of themselves. And a new age of reason and exploration and science is ushered forth into this fantasy world. So again, we go to Tristram Flattery, our 23-year-old protagonist, again orphaned at 8. He's summoned to the royal court of Farland, specifically to cure a failing species of plant, which seems to have mysterious, almost magical healing properties. In fact, the reason they want this plant to not go extinct is because the aging king will die without that plant. He needs it for his survival, let's just say that, without getting into too much. And so now Tristram has gone to do this because he's a botanist, a science guy. He's kind of into like he's Darwin. Basically, this is kind of the voyage of Darwin, but in a fantasy setting, because eventually, in this sets off, his whole initial visit sets off sort of some political strife that threatens the whole civilization, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, he has to launch off onto a journey kind of like Darwin, Charles Darwin, where he goes to the ends of the earth to to find out scientific things to based on. But then what he finds is he discovers on his journey like kind of a little bit more magic than science, and so that's where the conflict sort of comes in. This is like basically the fantasy version of a Charles Darwin trip into, and we get that. I mean, you can see he's out looking over the ocean and the ships and stuff in the background and the different places he's going. It's a very, very interesting adventure. Not like thrilling as in he's fighting monsters and fighting pirates and all this stuff. This is more of an adventure, kind of like Charles Darwin, just kind of like a voyage into the unknown for scientific purposes and philosophical purposes, and where maybe his magic once again. Well, you find out. I don't know. I haven't read the sequels. I don't know what happens. I don't know anything more than you people do. But I really enjoyed this book quite a bit. Enough so that I'll probably get a bunch more Sean Russell books in the series. I think there's 3 more in this series. And, I give this a solid 8.5 out of 10. Good for what it is. Like I said, there were no, other than the duel at the beginning with the swords, there's really not a lot of action and adventure. Maybe 8.5 out of 10. Had there been a little more action adventure, maybe a 9.5 out of 10. What can you do?